Yeah, Mad Panic Gaming!
Awesome!
What's up, everybody? Jim here. Welcome back for another epic game hunt. Today, I was in the lovely neighborhood of Tachikawa on some official business, actually, today. But I thought while I was in town, I might as well get a game hunt in. And I decided to go to one of my absolute favorite places to shop for games these days. And that is Surugaya, loaded with games. But I decided to challenge myself today. I didn't want to do just a generic run-of-the-mill game hunt. So I decided what I will do today is try to pick up 6 great games on 6 different consoles and do my best to get some value for my purchases. Bang for my buck, if you will. Was I able to accomplish this? I'll let you be the judge of that, but that is what's coming up next. Alright, getting started with the 8-bit powerhouse that is the Famicom. As you can see, they had a lot of loose carts, but I thought it would be more fun and maybe more challenging to pick up a nice boxed and complete game like this, possibly. Gradius 3850, and that's in pretty good shape, or Super Mario Bros. 3, but 5,010 yen. Which I didn't really know that Mario 3 had gotten that expensive. It's not an uncommon game. 5,500 for the original Mario Bros. What are you doing to me, Surugaya? And YY World 2, 6450. That's a great game in case you didn't know, but a little bit pricey. And they had a bunch of the Dragon Ball Z games, like this one here. Was that the Destruction of the Saiyans or something? Dragon Ball Z 3. Get yourself some Android action going. And the original Dragon Ball 4980, also known as Dragon Power, in surprisingly great shape. I was kind of shocked. And then I was thinking heavily about this game here. Downtown Neketsu Monogatari, aka River City Ransom, for 4420. And again, in like just absolutely epic condition. But I went with this one instead. Neketsu Kakuto Densetsu. Which, if you've never heard of this game, probably because I think it was a Japan exclusive, but if you like the Kunio-kun series, this is a game you wouldn't want to pass on, or if you really like games like River City Ransom, because this game controls more or less like River City Ransom, but it is in fact a 2-on-2 fighting game. So you put together a team of fighters, and then you go through a tournament of sorts. And it controls like a beat-em-up that became a fighting game, so it's pretty easy to get the hang of. And there's all kinds of like cool stage hazards, so you can be slipping around on ice in one stage and getting impaled on spikes in another, so that's pretty cool. And surprisingly in-depth gameplay for something so simple, a little 8-bit beat-em-up turn fighting game. You can do special moves, and you can even do team special attacks, which are really cool, and deal a ton of damage to your opponents. So it's nothing mind-blowing. It's not Street Fighter 2, mind you, but it is really fun. And again, if you like the Kunio-kun characters and universe as much as I do, this is a game you'd want to play. And complete in box with manual and everything else in really good shape. It was 3,550 yen, which I found to be at least tolerable. So this one went home with me today. Again, Neketsu Kakuto Densetsu. Alright, because one good Nintendo console deserves another. As you can see, we've got some Super Famicom games here, and once again, they had a lot of loose carts. Obviously much cheaper, but I did think, once again, a nice boxed game would really put this thing over the top. They had all kinds of great stuff, like some Super Bonk for 3,200 yen, aka I think Super Denjin. And some Super Bomberman 5, which is excellent, in case you didn't know. They had a bunch of those Super Bombermans, but it was over 5,000 yen. This copy of Gradius 3, 2,600 yen, but the box was a bit ratty, which is too bad, because that's like one of my favorite SNES shooters. We got these Goemon games, very good games indeed. Most of them Japan exclusives, but all of them over 4,000 yen, over 5,000 yen in some cases. And this, I just wanted to look at this beautiful artwork, the Akira Toriyama. 2,700 for complete Chrono Trigger, some more DBZ games, again, just for the awesome artwork. 1,700 on a complete Super Butoden 3. That's not so bad, I suppose. They're, again, in great shape. And I just love to marvel at all that great artwork. Such a collage of colors. We got Downtown Neketsu Baseball. So if you like your River City Ransom characters playing baseball, there you go. In case you didn't know. And Twinbee Rainbow Bell Adventure. Great game. $49.20. A little more than I wanted to pay. And Tetris Battle Gaiden. My favorite SNES puzzle game for $25.30. Also not too bad. But I decided to go with this game. The always awesome Poppin' Twinbee. And if you've never played Poppin' Twinbee, it is a really good top-down shoot-'em-up by Konami, put out at a time when Konami could really do no wrong, if you ask me. They were putting out stuff like Castlevania 4, Gradius 3, all that good stuff, and Poppin' Twinbee just kind of like carries on that legacy of awesome quality. So as far as shoot-'em-ups go, especially on the SNES, it is one of the better shooters on the console. Not a console well known for its great shoot-'em-ups, but Twinbee finds that nice balance where the gameplay is fun, it's kind of challenging, and it doesn't really push the processor too hard. It's not a terribly fast shoot 'em up, but it is a whole lot of fun, and the graphics are really nice. Very colorful game, really pops out of the screen. The Twinbee games were always good for that, and the soundtrack is really good too. Again, 16-bit Konami music, you really can't go wrong with it. So just the total package, Poppin' Twinbee is really good, very fun. Nice graphics, really good sound design, and I picked this copy up, again, boxed, complete with everything in it, and in really, really good shape, and it was only 2,420 yen, and for such a great game that someone's going to have a lot of fun with, I think that's a pretty good deal, so I was very happy to come away with Poppin' Twinbee today. Alright, moving away from Nintendo and over to the land of Sega. We got some Mega Drive games here, $55.80 for Valis 3. And this is a console where it's much easier to find boxed games because that's almost all they have. These clamshell cases, I swear, after the nuclear apocalypse, it's going to be Mega Drive cases and the cockroaches are going to survive. But as you can see, they have really good stuff here, but just a lot of it is kind of pricey, as is typical for Mega Drive these days. And the selection, not nearly as big as the Nintendo consoles. Mega Drive, I guess, was not quite as popular in Japan as the Genesis was in other countries. So the selection is usually more limited and more expensive. But the games, nevertheless, are amazing. But I did zero in on this game right here. Absolutely love it. It is Phalios. And if you are unfamiliar with Phalios, it is a vertically scrolling shooter where you play as, I believe, Apollo flying on the back of Pegasus, and you are on a mission to save Artemis. And that's about it. So it all revolves around Greek mythology. So there are monsters and boss battles taken from Greek lore. So I think they're like the three witches or whatever they are. There's Medusa. There's all kinds of cool stuff like that. And just in general, it's a really fun shooter. It's kind of tough. It's one of those kind of late 80s Namco shooters where it was first an arcade game. So they made it as brutal as they possibly could to squeeze every last bit of yen they could out of players. But it's really fun. The console version obviously does have multiple difficulty settings, but even if you set it to easy, it's still a fairly challenging game, or at least I'd say. Although if you set it on easy, you will not get to see the ending of the game because it cuts you off somewhere in the middle, challenges you to at least complete the game on normal. which I have on several occasions because this has been one of my favorite Mega Drive shooters for a very long time. Very fun gameplay, very nice looking graphics, especially some of the boss battles, really big, cool looking character sprites, and a decent enough soundtrack as well. Mega Drive games kind of hit or miss sometimes with their soundtracks. Phalios, right in the meaty part of the curve. Not great, not showing off, but not terrible either. So it's a really good game. And it's a game actually that's getting much more expensive these days. I've seen it for as much as like 8,000, 9,000 yen out on my travels. So when I saw that this copy was 5,430 yen, I thought that was a pretty damn good deal for a game that's been going up in price recently. So awesome game and not a bad price on it, and everything was like great. The case, the manual, the cartridge, all in fantastic condition. So I was very happy to pick up the one, the only Phalios today. Awesome game indeed.
CD ロムロムは大容量デジタルサウンドだから迫力が違う。わかった？ PC エンジン。
Alright, breaking out the big guns. Because it's PC Engine time, and they had quite a lot of good stuff, including games like R-Type, Complete CD. We got some Cho Aniki there, for those of you who are into that. So some Cosmic Fantasy, Cobra, Godzilla, lots of PC Engine CD and HuCard games. What else we got here? Deep Blue, 1760, but it sucks, so no thank you. Macross, I think 2036, 3850. Pretty good too. Or maybe you'd like to go for Cyber City Oedo 808 for 950 yen. Very cheap and very obscure as well. Or this, not a bad game. Cybercross, kind of a side-scrolling beat-em-up in the same vein as like Kung Fu, but with a Power Rangers twist. We got Space Harrier, that's also very cheap. But I've got Space Harrier on just about everything. Some Ranma 1/2, one of them anyway. One of the fighting games for $27.70. That's probably like in the neighborhood of like $22, $23. $38.70, but I've talked about this game so much. Mr. Heli, one of my like low-key favorite shoot-em-ups on the PC Engine. And Valis the Phantasm Soldier, cool game, but 7,580 yen. That's getting up there in price for that original one, even though that is a pretty snazzy game. $11.50 for Puyo Puyo CD, though. That's about $8. And Puyo Puyo is always fun, so I had a lot to choose from here, as you can see. But eventually I went with this fine game, the one and only Valis 3, which, if you haven't played Valis 3 or any of the Valis games, they're pretty good action platformers. I wouldn't put them in like that S tier. I wouldn't put them up there with like Super Castlevania 4, Mega Man X, but they're pretty good. And of all of them, I would say Valis 3 is probably the best. I don't care for Valis 2 at all. The original Valis, at least the PC Engine version, is quite good. Valis 4 is okay too on the Super Famicom PC Engine. This one, though, pretty cool for a few different reasons. The gameplay is just fairly solid. It's a pretty good, fun, somewhat challenging, but not like frustratingly so action platformer. You get 3 different characters to choose from. So you get Yuko, and she has her prerequisite, a sword that shoots out energy strikes, and you can do magic attacks as well. And you also have her slide ability, which is, again, like ever-present in the series, and it can help you get across big gaps, because some of the platforming is a little bit tricky here and there. That makes more sense to slide than jump. But this was the first game in the series that gave you a couple of other characters to play as. So you have Cham, who attacks with a whip as opposed to a sword, which is kind of cool. Maybe give you like some Castlevania vibes there. And you also get Valna, who I think is probably the most useful character in the game, just because she attacks with a ranged magic attack that also fires in multiple directions. So it's pretty versatile. And again, they all have access to different magic attacks. And there's a bunch of boss battles, and there's the cutscenes, kind of like that prerequisite PC Engine anime-style cutscenes. The English voice acting was always horrible, but the Japanese voice acting is pretty good. The graphics are pretty good, and the soundtrack is pretty good too. So that's what I'll say about these games. They are all pretty good. And with this one in particular being at 2,550 yen, I thought that was a pretty good deal for a game that is becoming less and less common these days. Of course, there are now Valis collections on modern consoles, so you can pick those up if you want to just get all the games in the series in a very economic way. But for today, though, I thought picking up Valis 3 for that price, that was a pretty good deal. Next up, we have the Absolute Ecstasy. That is the Sega Saturn. They had quite a generous selection here today, so very happy with that. First up, X-Men versus Street Fighter, with some damages and other various things, but $46.90 is actually not bad for that these days. And $4,400 for Children of the Atom. Both amazing games, and actually, X-Men versus Street Fighter really been going up in price recently. This, King of Fighters 95, good shape. No price tag on it, though. But I have to imagine it was under 3,000 yen. Or you can pick up, I think, Samurai Spirits 4. I don't recall the Japanese subtitle, but 4,900 for that. It's another one that's going up. And Golden Axe The Duel. Not the best fighting game ever made, but there you go. And Super Gusu no Yo-Yo S, 2370. Great series of puzzle games. But yeah, some of these Saturn games in the cardboard box get more expensive. Macross, Do You Remember Love for $15.20. That's very reasonable, but actually just picked up a copy recently. Didn't need another one. 4,010 though for Dynamite Deca, aka Die Hard Arcade. That's not too bad. Again, these days with conversion rate, that's probably about $30, so not so bad. And $29.10 for Darius Gaiden, which is again a game I just recently picked up another copy of, so didn't need one. But $29.10 is a good deal on that. $7,800 though for Tenchu Kurao 2, Warriors of Fate. Not a cheap one. $23.30 for Detona Twin B Deluxe Pack though. Good deal on that. That's about $18 for a great shooter. Marvel Superheroes 6,010. That's one that's going up in price. And then $6,600 for Marvel Superheroes versus Street Fighter. Not getting any cheaper. And then we got Magical Drop 3, I believe, $22.40. So that's a decent deal on that. But I decided to go with this, one of my all-time faves, and that is Rockman X4. And I don't need to say too much about this one. It's a pretty popular game in the Mega Man series. It's actually one of my favorites. Probably I'd put it in my top 3. Along with Mega Man 5 and the original Mega Man X, but it's excellent. If you've never played it, this was the first game where you could not only play as X, but also as Zero, as like a full playable character through the game. In X3, you could play as Zero, but only like in limited amounts of time you could play with him. And if he died, you lost him forever, which really sucked. So he was just kind of more of a special character. Here, you got Zero through the whole game. He has his own unique gameplay style. So it actually is quite different if you decide to play as X or if you decide to play as Zero. You're getting a different experience despite the fact that you're going through the same stages and everything. But the gameplay styles are different enough that it makes it feel like almost like two different games in one. So that's excellent. Again, you get those really cool like FMV cutscenes from the day, which was very impressive at the time. Finally getting to see some real true Mega Man anime stuff in your games. That was great. This and Mega Man 8, of course. But the graphics are outstanding. The soundtrack is amazing. The gameplay is super tight and fun. To me, between this and the original X, it's the best that the Mega Man series has ever been. And it's just one of my all-time favorite 2D action platformers. And at 4,340 yen, this is a game that is not getting any cheaper. So I was happy to pick it up today for this amount. I've seen it for as much as like 6,000, 6,500 yen. So I felt like I got a pretty good deal on it. And this is just one to jump on before the prices really get out of hand. And you can play it in collections and stuff as well, so it's not like it's hard to come by. But if you're a Saturn collector and you don't have this one yet, you might want to pick it up right now, because it ain't getting any cheaper. Alright, last but certainly not least, That old standby, the Sega Dreamcast. And again, just look at all those beautiful games. What a wonderful collage of orange and other various colors. 3540 Capcom versus SNK. And a little more for Capcom versus SNK Pro. 7180 for Gunbird 2. Amazing game, but now available as part of compilations. We also have Giga Wing, which is an excellent game, 5830, and I do definitely like it more than Giga Wing 2. 1500 for Guilty Gear X. That's still a very inexpensive game. It's been a $10 game forever. 2280 for King of Fighters 99, King of Fighters 2000, 2530, KOF 2001, 2520. We have stumbled into the King of Fighters section. And 2780 for KOF 2002. So all of the King of Fighters games under 3,000 yen, which would put them, between like 15 and 20 bucks each. 5390 for Moiro Justice Gakuen, aka Project Justice. Love it. 4750, so probably in the neighborhood of like 38 bucks for JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, which is a fantastic game. Like it a lot. 2950 for Marvel vs. Capcom 2. These days, actually not such a bad deal on it. That's probably in the neighborhood of like 22 bucks. Or Tokyo Bus Guide for all of you bus enthusiasts, 2110. But no, we went for this wonderful gem, US Shenmue. If you're not aware of what US Shenmue is, it is Shenmue just as you know it. But it is, as the name implies, the North American version. So after Shenmue was released in Japan, it was obviously ported to other regions, and I guess when they ported it to North America and Europe, they made various changes and alterations that Sega, I guess, thought were significant enough that it warranted a re-release in Japan. So they essentially just repackaged the North American version. Even up to and including inside the cardboard box, there is a traditional Dreamcast jewel case, and it is the exact same kind of jewel case as the North American Dreamcast game was released in. So it is basically the English version of the game. They removed like the Coca-Cola logos, for example, and that kind of stuff. And it has the English voice cast as well, Corey Marshall and Eric Kelso and other various people that did the English voiceover for that game. But it is significant in one important regard, in that I believe it is the only version of the game that features all of the various voice options and subtitle options. So if you want to, you can play the game with the Japanese voiceover and English subtitles, which I don't think was an option on any of the other versions of the game. And of course, you can also play it with English, or with English subtitles, English with Japanese subtitles if you really want to. All of the various voice options and audio options are there. So that's really cool too. And just on top of that, it's kind of just a rare variant. And Shenmue fans are pretty hardcore. So this is one that any self-respecting Shenmue fan would probably want in their collection. And the one I picked up here today was in like immaculate, almost mint condition, and it was 5,360 yen, which I have seen this game going for as much as like 8,000, 9,000 yen as of late. So when I saw it for 5,360, I was like, absolutely, that's a hell of a deal. And I'm going to have that going out to a Shenmue fan somewhere, sometime soon. But for the time being, I got that in the collection. It's on the shelf as we speak. Big Shenmue fan myself, so I was very happy to pick this one up today. So there you go, 6 games for 6 different consoles. How did I do? Did I get some good deals, or am I just an idiot, a fool in his money, or soon departed? Let me know down in the comments. And let me know what you thought of all the games I picked up today, because I got some pretty good stuff, don't mind saying so. But that's it, so thanks for watching, everyone. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I do hope to see you on the next one. Take care, everybody. Goodbye.